Yo. Welcome back to another episode of Damn Football Guys. It's your host, Lloyd Baba Yaga. You already know what it is. We're back with another start sit video for week 8. This time we're going to cover the quarterbacks. Remember this week there is no bye weeks. Set your lineups. There's 1,001 games to cover. So we're going to run through this as quick as possible and trying to be as efficient as possible. If you're losing in your leagues, this is the time to make those tough calls. Drop your quarterbacks. Go to get a better quarterback. It doesn't matter when you drafted them. It's time to, tighten up. We're trying to make playoffs. You make playoffs first. Don't worry about the championship right now. Worry about playoffs. So let's bring the board up. All right. Let's start with the first game we have on the slate. We have Cardinals at Dolphins. We're talking quarterbacks here. So we got Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa. If Tua plays, I'm starting Tua. In a 2-quarterback league, Tua's, he's worth the start. But to be honest, Tua's probably going to give you 15. So I understand why you would sit Tua. But the Cardinals defense is non-existent. Kyler Murray is a must start. Just his mobility alone. This is a mobility alone gets Kyler Murray a start every week, despite the fact that his wide receivers suffer because of him. I don't even want to blame him for that. Like, that's just the way it works, Moving on to the Jets-Patriots game, we have who do we have here? We have Aaron Rodgers and Drake May. Aaron Rodgers is a fucking sit. I don't know why it says he's a start, but Aaron Rodgers is a sit. Or at best a flex. Drake May is probably a start. Nah, I have them. I probably sit them both this game. The Jets defense is pretty relentless with their corners, but at the same time, Aaron Rodgers has not really produced much for us this season. So yeah, I think this is a good time to kind of swap them both out. The next game we have Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts, Eagles at Bengals. Jalen Hurts is a start. You start him every week. Joe Burrow has been on a tear. They're saying he's one of the best looking quarterbacks at the moment. After starting off a rough season, you start them both. No reason to overthink that one. Next game, we have Packers at Jaguars. Jordan Love is a start. He's been doing great since he came back from injury, doing good before he left. You start him. T-Law had a good game last week and still didn't get over 15 points. You sit T-Law. No point enforcing it, especially against the stingy Packers defense, who just held CJ Stroud to 5.23 points. Falcons at Buccaneers, a game we're expecting to go over no matter what the number is. I haven't seen the number, but I'm expecting over regardless. Kirk Cousins loves bump. We start Kirk Cousins. Baker Mayfield loves bump too. We start Baker Mayfield. Don't miss the bump. Start them. If they're on waiver wire, go drop fucking T-Law. Go get Baker Mayfield. I might regret saying that, but I doubt it. Ravens at Browns, another 1:00 game. Lamar Jackson, instant start. Whether DTR plays, whether Jameis Winston plays, you sit them both. The entire Browns offense not named Njoku and not named Nick Chubb, you sit them. So that's foreshadowing for whatever other videos you watch after this. But yes, Jameis Winston, DTR, both sits. Lamar Jackson, start him every week. Next game, we have Colts at Texans. CJ Stroud. Bad week last week, terrible week. We ignore that. We move forward. CJ Stroud is a start this week. I think right now he makes up for it. The Colts defense is not the Packers defense. We see a much better CJ Stroud, much more comfortable CJ Stroud this week than we did last week. Anthony Richardson, despite that first game, he's been ass ever since. His passing sucks. He might have a good game, but I think at this point, if you're starting Anthony Richardson every week, it's okay to miss the game. It's okay. Because if you're losing, if you're not having a good season and you're starting Anthony Richardson every week, that's probably the reason why. If Anthony Richardson plays, the Colts are not a viable offense. On to the next game. We have Titans at Lions. You start Jared Goff. Jared Goff has been pretty consistent. He's one of the most consistent quarterbacks since last season. He has a lot of weapons. The offense is explosive. They have him moving the ball a lot. Jared Goff is a great start. As far as Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, it looked the same. It looked exactly the same, despite regardless of who's playing. It looked bad. I think you sit them this week. Not I think you should sit them this week. If they have a good game, don't beat yourself up over it. It wasn't real. It never happened. Don't mind it. Sit them both. The next game we have Saints at Chargers. Justin Herbert, start him. Derek Carr is out, and Spencer Rattler isn't who we thought he was yet. He has a chance to be that later, but preseason hype and the fans cheering for him had us thinking that he'd come in here, plug and play, and be that guy, and he hasn't been. He's actually been part of the deterioration of a lot of the offense for the Saints. You sit him, you sit Derek Carr. Well, Derek Carr is out still, so yeah. The next game we have the Bills at Seahawks. Bills at Seahawks. We have Josh Allen. He has new weapons, new toys, and he still has all the mobility he had before. You start Josh Allen. Geno Smith has been looking really, really good in that offense. Has DK Metcalf, has Tyler Lockett, even has JSN, and they're all producing at a high level, except for JSN. You start Geno Smith. Geno Smith is a good pivot from some of your previous quarterback options. If you drafted a Tua, if you drafted a T-Law, if you drafted a Anthony Richardson, consider pivoting to Geno or Baker Mayfield. The next game, we have Bears at Commanders. You start Jaden Daniels every week at this point. The rib injury is a little concerning, so you might want to keep your eye out on that if he's limited. Well, you don't limit your quarterback, but you want to keep your eye on that if they say he practiced fully, if he's fully involved in practices, kind of to see get a sense of that Jaden Daniels you're getting at the game. Because the worst case scenario is he goes out there and gets re-injured, or you start him, or you bench another quarterback and he doesn't even play at the end of the day, which seems less likely to happen. But you just want to keep an eye on the fact that he does, in fact, have bruised ribs at the moment. As far as Caleb Williams goes, he had his best game of the season last week. He's finally looking a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more poised, and he is playing the Commanders defense, who isn't trash from what I've been seeing, but they do tend to, give it up a little bit. So I think Caleb Williams is a comfortable start. Panthers at Broncos. Andy Dalton, you tricked us, and you're not playing this week, actually. Bryce Young is playing, and he's a sit. Andy Dalton broke his hand and or finger in a car accident, so he will not be playing this week. But Bryce Young is stepping back in, and Bryce Young makes all the weapons on this team non-viable, including Chuba Hubbard. So I wish I was still doing the running back video so I can actually change Chuba Hubbard to a sit, but I can't. So I'm going to tell you guys here during the quarterback video that Chuba Hubbard should be a sit, simply because Andy Dalton is not playing, and that actually sucks a lot. Bo Nix, he's been doing good. He had 72 rushing yards last game along with Javonte, and he's playing the worthless Panthers defense. Bo Nix is the start. The next game, we have Chiefs at Raiders. Patrick Mahomes is a start every week, despite the fact that he hasn't been doing the greatest. You start him every week, especially against the Raiders. But the Raiders and the Chiefs have an interesting relationship, so we'll see how the numbers look. But AOC is also out with a broken hand, I believe, also. Seems like the mid gets injured the same way each time. Gardner Minshew he had a really rough game last week, and now he's playing the Chiefs defense, who tend to be slightly stingier. I do not encourage you to start Gardner Minshew. There's no reward for being reckless in fantasy. This isn't necessarily true. Moving on to the 8:20 p.m., we have the Cowboys against the Niners. Dakota is a flex. I don't have him as a must start, but he is a flex. Brock Purdy is a good start. Dallas defense is worthless. Even without Brock Purdy's weapons, I do believe that he still should be able to produce on the ground with Jordan Mason, and hopefully he at least gets Jawan Jennings and Deebo Samuel that day. And he does what he always does, a little flicker here. And then, they take it for 300 yards. But, yeah, you start Brock Purdy, flex Dak. And Monday Night Football, we have Giants versus Steelers. Russell Wilson looked amazing. Not to size him too much. He looked great in the last game. He produced at a high level. He had a great chemistry with George Pickens. Yeah, Justin Fields is no longer the starter, so obviously he's going on the bench. Daniel Jones against the Steel Curtain, not the best option in the world. The Steel Curtain is in a very aggressive defense, and he already struggled against what we thought would be the cheesy Eagles defense. But divisional games are exceptions, so I'm not going to hold that against him. But I am not going to start him against the Steelers, who have the lowest points per something against something. I'm sure, because that's how tough their defense is. But anyways, thank y'all for tuning in. Like and subscribe, leave a comment, hit that notification bell so you know when we drop some new content. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Make us one of your sources. We on Apple Music and Spotify. We love y'all. Them football guys. We wishing y'all the best on y'all fantasy leagues. We are out. Check things like check, please.